My name is Emma Drofiak, and I will be doing my Rogerian argument presentation on genetically modified organisms, or known shorter as GMOs, and the controversy surrounding whether they are good or bad, and finding a common ground. My name is Emma Drofiak, and I will be doing my Rogerian argument presentation on genetically modified organisms, or known shorter as GMOs, and the controversy on whether they are good or bad, and finding a common ground between those two. So, what are genetically modified or engineered foods? They are foods where a specific trait of their DNA has been changed or altered. This can be done for many reasons. Some examples are to enhance the size or taste of the crop that they are modifying, or for the crop to be more resistant to pests or certain diseases. What is the problem with GMOs? They can cause environmental impacts where pesticides sprayed on the crops can cause soil pollution and destroy ecosystems and be carried through the air and water to anywhere else on the planet. Another problem is they can cause harm to health and safety of consumers. With changing the DNA structure, it can lead to new allergens being introduced to certain crops. Some of these genes being altered are to make plants more resistant to certain weather conditions, pests, and diseases. When us consumers ingest that produce, over time it can lead to our bodies being more resistant to a medication or antibiotics. And with consuming produce with these unknown modifications, it can lead to health problems later on in life. Another issue I found very shocking in my research is the impact on farmers and consumers. And from a study done by Alvin Honra and Bonner, where almost 500,000 people died due to exposure to these toxins. And with this, this was an article by Fernando P. Carvalho. And with the growing rate of GMOs, it is becoming harder and harder for consumers to find produce that is non-GMO, such as organic foods. Why should we be concerned about these problems? GMOs affect everybody in the food industry. It can create concern about the unknown. Without more education on the topic, it can lead people to create misconceptions about genetically modified foods. Without clear labeling, consumers may not know what they are buying and be confused. Not only do GMOs affect people, but the environment as well. Opposing side. The good of GMOs outweighs the bad. GMOs help support the growing population, and with the population increasing every year, genetically modified foods help support and feed more people. Genetically modified foods help farmers produce a bigger crop yield because they are modified to resist certain weather conditions, whereas crops without these modifications might not have survived the season. They also help food have a longer shelf life, again because of the modifications and changing of certain genes to make them last longer on store shelves and in people's homes. Some also argue that they enhance the size and taste of the produce. It helps the crop grow bigger in size and quote-unquote taste better. This graph is showing that throughout the years, as more countries are developing, so is growing genetically modified foods in more and more countries. So going deeper into the counter-argument, as the population increases, we need more food to support the supply and demand, and GMOs can help with that. GMOs can help reliably sustain the growing population because genetically modified crops allow for a bigger harvest It allows these foods to be sold at a cheaper price, making them more affordable to everyone. They help farmers and brands be more reliable if the crops are more likely to survive in certain seasons. Produce like strawberries, potatoes, and tomatoes are available year-round because they are genetically modified to resist certain temperatures and seasons. They also allow the food to survive longer on shelves. They are modified to last longer so stores and the people buying do not have to worry about such a small window when the food will go bad. They also look more appealing when the produce is bigger in size or mass and consumers do not see any imperfections. When a consumer goes to a grocery store, they try and pick out the produce that looks the best or with what they can get more for the price of one. With genetic modification, they are able to buy produce that is bigger and has less flaws or imperfections and looks more perfect. So for my first point in my argument is they can cause harm to the environment. They can cause things like soil pollution, disrupting ecosystems, and they are spread through the earth and water. Genetically modified crops does not mean they are pesticide or chemical free. And with these chemicals and toxins, they can disrupt and pollute the ecosystems and biodiversity of certain species. With the growing rate of GMOs, that also means the growing rate of these toxins used and spread. For my second point in my argument is it can cause health and safety risks in the future. People are more exposed to new allergens with genetic engineering, can cause resistance to antibiotics in medicine, and it can lead to problems later on in life such as digestive risks. Because of the cross of different DNA, it can cause new allergens to certain people who otherwise might not have known they were allergic to a certain thing. The resistance in genes in the crops can cause people to become more resistant to antibiotics and medicine. They can also lead to long-term effects in the future, such as problems with their digestive system upon years of ingestion of GMOs. My third argument is the impact on farmers and consumers. It is making it harder for local farmers to compete, and there's less choice for consumers who are wanting organic foods opposed to genetically modified foods. Local farmers are finding it harder and harder to compete with the growing GMO industry, and it is causing a lot of them to go out of business. With this industry growing, it is harder for consumers to find non-GMO products such as organic foods, where they are limited in big grocery stores such as Fred Meyer's, Safeway, and they are limited to stores like Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or farmers markets. How can we come together? With more knowledge and education about genetically modified foods, it can help bridge the gap between both sides. FDA, USDA, and other government agencies can help inform the public about what is safe and what consumers should be looking out for. The main reason for the divide is the lack of knowledge and misconceptions about GMOs, because even though it is a big topic, there is not enough discussion addressing it. Acknowledging both sides. Instead of saying whether GMOs are good or bad, I can say there are both pros and cons to both sides. This topic deserves more acknowledgement with discussion from people on both sides to bridge the gap. With a more transparent relationship between government, companies, and consumers, many misconceptions and issues can be addressed and resolved. The more consumers know about what goes into genetically modified foods and what the benefits and risks are, the more likely there is to be less controversy about GMOs. A simple thing like clear labels can help both sides and can be a solution to the controversy of GMOs. Labeling can help consumers know if there are any allergens they should be aware of. Consumers can decide for themselves whether they want to purchase products or produce containing genetic modification by looking at labels. It can help assure consumers that the food is safe to eat, and if there is anything to look out for, a label can help a consumer know.